So my guest today is Quentin Collins. He's a jazz trumpeter, hosts a number of gigs, is in Carl Eastwood's band, has his own record label, and is just releasing a new album. So welcome to the show, Quentin.
Thanks for having me, Andrew.
You're welcome. So you've got a new album coming out very shortly. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
It's the second record with an organ quartet I co-lead together with tenor saxophonist Brandon Allen. The band is called QCBA and the record is called Beauty in Quiet Places.
Is that Quentin Collins, Brandon Allen?
Very well deduced.
Great. And is the music all written by yourself or is it co-production?
It's a 50-50 split. I think of 8 compositions, 4 are by Brandon, 4 are by myself. It's going to be released on Ubuntu Music, which is a brand new record label. It'll be the second release. And Ubuntu is a label I started together with Martin Hummel. And it'll be released in September. So hopefully it'll be the second, but of many more.
And so it's the second. So what was the first album then on?
Oh, the first record on Ubuntu was Noemi Nuti, a young up-and-coming singer-songwriter in the sort of Brazilian jazz vein. And that was released last March and it did very well, receiving a lot of very favourable reviews and airtime as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've played it a few times on here and there's some wonderful tunes on there and I particularly like the one that Andrew had written and I've played it quite a lot. Which track off your new CD would you like to play?
Well, I'd like to play a track which I composed and it's entitled Fuerteventura. It's named after the island in the Canary Isles.
So this album you've done with Brandon, and you and Brandon play quite a lot. You were telling me earlier that you're both in Kyle Eastwood's band. His name seems to come up a lot on this show.
We're very close friends and musical allies. We've been playing together for 15 years now in many different settings. And we are the front line for the Kyle Eastwood band, as well as leading our own band together, which is great.
So I had an interview with Andrew McCormack and he was obviously in Carl's band and I've interviewed you and I've heard that Brandon's on it and hopefully at some time we'll be able to get Kyle on the radio show. So who else is in that band?
In the Carl Eastwood band, he has a drummer who you probably know, a great drummer called Chris Higginbottom.
Oh, yeah.
And that's it. It's just the 5 of us.
Excellent. So I was going to move on a little bit to your teaching. And the reason I'm drawing attention to that is because Quentin and I are both in the south of France teaching on the Dordogne Jazz Summer School. So how's that going for you then, Quentin?
Well, it's great. I've been doing this now, as you know, since the inception of the jazz course about 14 years or more ago. And it seems to get better pretty much every year. And it's just such a nice experience to be in this beautiful place surrounded by this beautiful countryside. And teaching, what is generally a really great bunch of people and with a great faculty as well, so I can't complain.
These are adults, aren't they? Not children, and they come from all different countries.
That's what I like about it. It's really international. I mean, some people come from as far afield as the United States and all around Europe, which is really nice because you get a very interesting cultural mix, and at all ages from. There are even some student teachers or just recent graduates who come all the way up to retired, amateur musicians who take it very seriously as a hobby.
So you're obviously, you play in different bands, you're able to teach, you have your own record label, And then there's also another side to you, which is as a promoter, and we were talking about this earlier, so I thought it'd be really interesting to talk about it now. So you host a night, don't you? Where you host various nights. So I don't know if you want to talk about that.
Well, I mean, I host some of the late shows down at Ronnie Scott's with my own quartet at varying lineups, but I also do the booking, curating for a night in a great venue in Dalston called Brilliant Corners. The night is played twice.
I think the interesting, this is a really interesting story about this venue is it's not just you go in and listen to music. There's a whole a process, isn't there, of how you get the audience to listen. Perhaps you'd like to tell us about that.
Well, yeah, I mean, basically, obviously listening parties, in other words, a bunch of people listening to a record, is something that's been going on for a very long time. But I came up with the idea of actually having a live band perform the music directly after listening to the record. And believe it or not, despite having to sit there in silence for almost however long the record lasts, perhaps almost up to an hour, and then sitting through a live set of music, people seem to really love the concept, which is great. And I'm surprised at how popular it's become.
I mean, they don't talk. It's dark.
It's dark, yes.
This is new stuff. This must be something that psychologists must take note of, because I think it's incredible. So coming back to your album, we played a track off it. Is there another track you'd like to play?
Well, I think it would be great to play the title track. It's a tune by Brandon Allen, and he always tells the story that it's all about finding a beautiful place in a quiet spot to sit and contemplate the world. So we called it Beauty in Quiet Places.
Welcome back, Quentin. I often ask people this, how they actually got into music, and, why jazz, and maybe why the trumpet. I know you play the piano as well. So was it something that you wanted to do? Or, how did you get into jazz then?
Well, my father was a massive jazz fan, as you know, because he knew both your mom and dad. And, I grew up around his record collection at home, which was played, all the time, constantly. And all three of us, my brother, sister and I, we all liked the music. We didn't reject it at all. And he also, together with my mom, took us to see a lot of live music from the time we were born. And that, I think, was a really great thing. And we loved going to see live music and always have done ever since.
I think it's... I discussed this before, probably on the show, with a saxophonist, Dee Byrne, about, ways of learning jazz or acquiring, jazz language. And there are certain people that have it in the house and it's there all the time. So like your father, my father, in fact, I even had a radio show, one dedicated to some of his record collection, which is now owned by Mornington Lockett. We played it on the show. But I do think, it's like being bilingual, you learn it, from just listening to it. And, so I suppose we owe our parents quite a lot, apart from being born.
All parents out there, take note. Definitely play your kids as much good music as possible, because it has such a positive effect.
Kind of a bit of a cliche, but I quite enjoy asking this question. So let's fast forward 5 years' time. You'll still be a very young man then, obviously.
Oh yes, obviously.
5 years' time. What would you like to be doing in 5 years? What's your sort of vision for the near future?
Well, I got a bit of a taste for producing when co-producing the Naomi Newty record. And I really like the idea of helping and nurturing younger talents than I, who I really believe in. Basically, make their own music come to fruition, so making albums, etc. So hopefully with the birth of Ubuntu Music, and if that grows, that will be something I'll be doing in 5 years more prolifically than I am now. I'm really interested in that, and also, touring more under my own name, playing my own music, which is always the aim, really, to get out there and with my own projects and play my own music.
Well, they sound like very realistic goals, and I look forward to more records on the Ubuntu label, and obviously, we expect to see you gigging all the time. Anyway, thank you very much, Quentin Collins. He's my guest for today, and you've been listening to some of his music. In the middle of that interview, you heard a track called Amuse Bouche from his album Beauty in Quiet Places. If you want any more information on Quentin Collins, you can check out his website. That's quentincollins.com.